find some more light seeds?
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Prince of Persia 2008 walkthrough. This time we are heading further into the Vale to heal it of the alchemist's influence, because that's a bad thing. I can't remember exactly the name of this particular level, area, place, but it's basically like a water basin pump type thing, and it's a pretty cool level all the same. Now, I was saying I think the last time, a bit about alchemy in general, and I think it's probably a good time to go into other elements of alchemy itself, because that's just quite fun to do, especially because, I've said the majority of the stuff that can be said about this game at this point, which is kinda bad, but, yes. Well, I can get on to that slightly after Elika and the Prince have finished talking.
What did he keep in there?
Corruption.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Corruption is basically evil water in this world. Would kind of make more sense if the likes of Sonic interacted with corruption, because obviously in some of the, in the early 3D games he drowned, and in Sonic 1 if I recall correctly. Though I might be completely wrong in that, because I've not really played that game at all, but it fixed the whole he can't swim in it. It makes sense.
So not all the alchemist machines are bad.
Oh, they are. We just put this to good work after he had been in prison.
Huh. Imagine this, full of water, surrounded by nature.
I have to say that there is a slight hypocrisy in Liera's plan to make use of the alchemist machine for good use. It's kind of just like, all of them are evil, but this was put to good use, so it's not necessarily evil. It's a bit dodgy, really.
Ground at the bottom of a reservoir?
How better to protect it than by putting it underwater?
How about putting it under several thousand?
Good idea, but the corruption would probably be a hell of a lot worse.
Over there must lead down to the bottom.
Well, I hope you're ready for trouble. If we have to go swimming in corruption, well, I didn't even bring a towel.
It's not going to end well, I can tell you that much.
I'm surprised I hadn't heard of this place.
Now,
It's been guarded well.
the word alchemy, it seems like a number of sources for where the word could have originated from. It could be from the Old French alchemy, which is from the medieval Latin alchemia, which is in turn from the Arabic alchemia, which kind of comes from the ancient Greek chemia or chemia, with the addition of the Arabic al. And apparently that could have all come from Egyptian name for Egypt, which is Keme, which means black earth. But it also could come from the Greek chemia, which means mixture. And I would say that that's probably more accurate, because alchemy is all about mixing things together to form new stuff. But that's that. And we've actually made it to the fertile ground already. Some of these fertile grounds are really short in the grand scheme of things. It's slightly concerning because you do then spend so long collecting all the light seeds, but still. Now, this fight with the alchemist is a bit frustrating, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of the fights with the alchemist get a little bit frustrating after this point.
Please keep going.
Because if you hit him into the corruption, he's just going to fall into it and go around you. And yeah, it happens a lot. he's probably one of the most frustrating bosses for that. Because you've got to keep him in the middle, otherwise you're just going to be going through that same scene over and over and over again. And not being able to get any further with hurting him.
I'm here. You take him.
Thankfully he's still not that difficult. But I believe in the next fertile ground, he is probably going to develop a new power. Which is, I think is going to be the magic guard thing. Because we haven't seen him do that just yet.
Want to rest for a while?
Once our task is done.
There's no chance this place is going to fill with water now?
The mechanisms are ancient. It's unlikely any of them still work.
Okay, that wasn't a no. But I haven't come this far to get drowned in a desert. Let's get out of here. Much as though I need a bath, I don't want to take one now.
Yeah,
The plate should allow us to leave.
taking a bath now seems like a bad idea and a bit of a waste. But I'm not quite sure why the dialogue leaps straight from I don't want to take a bath right now to when I get back I want to take a bath. I don't quite get the leap in logic there, but oh well. It's probably because you're not meant to listen to them all one after the other, even if it does make more sense to me, at least anyway. Anyway, as we begin to collect all of the light seeds in this area, I felt it was kind of somewhat appropriate to discuss alchemy in art and entertainment in general, because why not? It's interesting stuff, and it gives me something to talk about. So, in terms of art, alchemy is actually very useful. So I think in general, art relating to alchemy isn't really apparent until around the mid-13th century, but alchemy had a role in the evolution of paint. Because it was all in kind of mixing pigments together with things to form paint. So if it wasn't for the likes of alchemy, you wouldn't have all those pretty paintings all over the place. Which is kind of insane. I mean, obviously there's some wasted time in the attempts to find gold in the Philosopher's Stone and all that jazz. But the fact that it actually created something that has stood the test of time is pretty damn impressive. I mean, there are still artists who use alchemy in their art, but it's not really that common. And like texts that use alchemy, they apparently begin around, well, around the time of Zosimos of Panopolis, and then kind of extend through. Apparently he's like the first alchemist or something. But then you have around the 14th century to later, you have a lot of rather satirical texts with people who really didn't like alchemy. So, Dante Alighieri's Inferno with the Divine Comedy, Yeah, he just dislikes them a lot. There's also William Langland's Piers Plowman, which is it's basically like a dream journey, very religious dream journey. I'll say that much. Like, I've studied it in my word. It is very religious. But he doesn't like alchemists either. Geoffrey Chaucer is also rather satirical about them in the canon Yeoman's Tale. There is Ben Jonson's play The Alchemist, which is actually really funny. I remember coming up against it and reading it and thinking, actually that's really funny, and it kind of really played on the ideas of alchemy and alchemists, more so than I think a lot of the other texts do. But then you come to the 19th century, and alchemy kind of begins to cease being a thing of satire, and starts to become more of a mystical thing. Still slightly scientific, but it's not nearly as lampooned. You get it in, like, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and so on and so forth. And then, since then, alchemy's become quite heavily the realm of fantasy and magic and witchcraft. So it appears in, like, H.P. Lovecraft's stuff and Terry Pratchett. Good old Terry Pratchett. I know I'd work my way back around to him somehow. But then it's also a thing of music. It's rather odd. I think there's actually a band called The Alchemist or something, which is pretty awesome. And then obviously it's got quite a place in the realm of video games, because they like mixing things together. I say one particular instance would be like the concocting things of Bayonetta. But it also appears in things like Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness and Tomb Raider Chronicles and Final Fantasy and all sorts. Alchemy is just rather important as a thing that happened in science and natural philosophy. And even though it's still seen as a silly thing, it's been romanticised somewhat since the days of when it was a relatively serious thing, at least for the people who practiced it. Like Isaac Newton, as I was saying before. Now, if I recall correctly, the next two fertile grounds that we have to deal with are actually rather exciting. Like, I seem to recall really liking them. Also, these two light seeds are slightly devilishly hidden. It's like, guys, that's just evil.
Please try not to fall off things.
Well, I'm trying, Gallica, but it's evidently not going very well. I mean, it's still going a lot better than it could potentially be, because I think I remember when I first played the game, I just kept flying off of everything. Because I just took a real daredevil approach to trying to collect everything. And it's really not the best way to tackle this game. Because obviously, getting saved by Aleka all the time just doesn't really do anything. So you want to try and challenge yourself by using her as little as possible. And I believe in the entirety of this run-through, I am going to manage to not use her more than 100 times, I think. I'm not 100% sure because I previously unlocked that achievement, and so would not receive it again upon succeeding with it, but I think I do reasonably well in terms of the not dying a ridiculous number of times in a single run-through.
There you go.
But I think if I'm recalling correctly, I did a reasonably good job of sweeping up all the light seeds in this area. So we are going to make somewhat fast progress, I really hope, to the next fertile ground, which has a quite dramatic change to the order of how we do things. Because so far it's been the very regimented, go to the plate, do some platforming, slash a puzzle, get to the fertile ground, have a fight, and
Don't hold so hard.
then progress. And that's going to change up a little bit when we reach the next one. Also, I ended up just missing a single light seed a little minute ago. Like, if there is one thing I will say, along with everything else that I've said about some of the light seed locations in these levels, is that sometimes it requires you to look up at a point where you are just like, oh, I can't be bothered to look up, it doesn't make any sense to do so, and that's where the damn things are hiding. Because that's just the way it goes. You can never escape it in video games, really.
Hold on.
But when we get over here and look all the way up, there's the light seed. And that is going to give us 45 out of 45 for this area, which makes me very, very, very happy indeed. Because that's, I think, at least... well, we've got this one full. Just means that we have less to do later on, which is nice, because when you get to the end of the game, you do just want to go and try and finish the game, because it sets you up to do that. The way the narrative occurs, you end up really wanting to go and take on Ahriman. And we're gonna have a little pause in between that and actually taking down Ahriman, because we want all those light seeds. Because they are meant to make Erlica more powerful, they really don't. They are basically just a collectible which serve no purpose other than being a collectible and getting you some achievements if you want them. And also, they do count for getting the powers for the power plates, but after you reach the 540, they really serve no purpose at all.
Must have been a big battle to take this city.
It fell in hours. Ahriman's power, the alchemist's machines. It was only with Ormaz's direct intervention that the city was freed.
Well, that was depressing. And so, with our last little bit of platforming, it's time for us to head on over to our next fertile ground. About halfway through, we're getting rid of the alchemist. Yay!